In the third year of the strategy, I became pregnant, but the system said it had mistaken the female lead. Overwhelmed with gratitude, I fled overnight. 10 minutes later, my CEO husband, who was supposed to be in England, appeared in the bedroom. His eyes looked hurt, his lips slightly pursed. Under the reason for divorce, I'm too strong, that can be changed. From now on, I'll be gentle, okay? Seeing the unusual color of his pupils, I burst into tears. I've been afraid of snakes since I was a child. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. In the third year of my marriage to Feng Yan, the long unseen system suddenly reappeared. Sorry, host. I just realized you're not the female lead. Because I had class, I was applying concealer to cover up those reddish-pink marks. Hearing its words, I scrambled to my feet. You're serious? It spoke with an extremely apologetic tone. Yes. It was my mistake at work. I got it wrong. Actually, you're just a beautiful extra. Feng Yan has already met the real female lead. I lay on the ground and kowtowed to it 10 times. It burst into loud sobs. Oh no, this is a disaster. The host has gone insane. I stopped it and rushed to the wardrobe, digging out the divorce agreement I had prepared earlier. Damn it all to hell, I knew it. My family has been crafting paper effigies for generations. How could we possibly have offended the crown prince of the capital's elite circle? I was completely dazed on my wedding day, yet he was all smiles, feigning deep affection. Only recently did I discover, he's not human, he's been raising prey. In my sophomore year, the system told me I was the female lead. I said I was the emperor. It pointed at Feng Yan, who had just parachuted into the school to give a finance lecture. That's the male lead. Think about it first, graceful and serene. With a dignified and handsome demeanor, both men and women crowded around, holding up their phones to take pictures. The classroom was packed to the brim. I swallowed hard and said, reluctantly, actually, my heart was bursting with joy, truly. My ancestors must have accumulated great virtue to bless me with such a wonderful marriage. At that time, I thought I had the protagonist's halo, making my conquest of Feng Yan so smooth it almost felt like a scam. Yet, he was incredibly generous to me. And his love didn't seem fake at all. We got married smoothly. Apart from being a bit cold and jealous, he basically had no flaws. He was healthy and indulged me. I thought this was love. It wasn't until a year ago that I realized I was his prey. He sucked my blood. Holy shit. Last New Year's Eve, he had something to do, so I went home alone for the holidays. My parents thought I was intruding on their couple time and told me to come back to keep Feng Yan company before I left. My mom stuffed me with lots of delicious food. Let Xiao Yan eat more. There's plenty at home. I stood at the door with my hands on my hips. Mom, where's mine? Where's mine? My dad chimed in, still asking. Xiaoyan always lets you eat first. And you've already gained a whole circle. This time, let him have it. Pouting, I dragged my luggage home in a huff. That night, when we left the airport, the moon was clearly a crescent. I walked back to the villa, and unexpectedly, the moon had turned full. The air was chilling, the atmosphere eerie. There was also a woman's voice inside. I sneaked in through the back door. Feng Yan was standing under a flower trellis talking to a woman whose back was the only thing visible. The first sentence already hit me hard. The woman said, "You only take a little blood each time, like a little bee collecting nectar." Feng Yan replied, "Too much and she'll get suspicious." Hearing those words, I suddenly felt a faint pain in my wrist. Raising my hand to the moonlight, the 2 small red dots on my wrist were glaringly conspicuous, and the same small red dots on my neck, recalling how, in the depths of passion at night, he loved to bite the vulnerable spots on my body. I always thought it was just his little habit, a playful thing between us. The woman smiled. I love draining my prey's blood before swallowing them whole. Relying on just her is no fun. Next time, I'll bring a few more to give you a real feast. I hid in the shadows, my face twisted in fear, barely making out the woman's hair squirming. When I looked closer, it seemed like snakes. She took one down and toyed with it in her hand. Yen, remember to collect the package. She placed her hand on his chest, slithering like a water snake, then suddenly grabbed Feng Yan's tie. be careful to maintain your form, don't get discovered. I stood there pinching myself desperately, tears welling up in my eyes, my heart was pounding with fear. Because I saw that woman transform into an enormous white python and slither away, I took off my shoes and tiptoed backward to retreat, then ran to a hotel overnight to calm my nerves. The system initially told me that once its mission was complete, the male and female leads would never be separated. I thought it meant literally. Only then did I realize that being devoured could also mean never being separated, a physical merging. Feng Yan was unaware of his exposure and continued to play the loving couple with me. Thinking I had a poor appetite, he tried various ways to feed me delicious food. Damn it, do you monsters treat your prey with such humanity? I firmly refused to eat, lying to him that I was trying to lose weight. Then this guy looked at me with deep affection. Honey, you always look the most beautiful no matter what, every time at moments like this. I notice his pupils are deeper and more expansive than an average person's. When he stares at me, his eyes are filled with a ravenous gleam. I couldn't help but secretly wipe away my tears. Monsters are all great actors, far better than human men, after all. For the sake of a meal, they can take action to please their prey, unlike most men, who are all talk and no action, running away at the first sign of trouble. Feng Yan put on a thorough performance. He was affectionate, held me close, and attended to my every need, but the more he acted this way, the more it reminded me of a cat playing with a mouse. A cat doesn't eat the mouse right away, it has to enjoy the game first. Feng Yan was the same, he would play with me later. When he noticed I was deliberately keeping my distance, he actually drugged me. I suspect it was because, if he went too long without drinking blood, his body would start showing animalistic traits. Twice, I struggled to stay conscious and, in the dim light, saw the scales on his arms, which gave me goosebumps all over. Under the influence of the drug, my heart raced at the sight of his face, my blood seemed to flow backward, and my entire body burned with heat. Then off to paradise. When he bit me, even the slight sting I felt before vanished, and I was completely immersed in overwhelming pleasure. In my dazed state, I could still hear his sweet whispers of satisfaction. Baby, you're so sweet, baby. I really want to eat you up. Oh my god, I'm dead on the spot. Actually, I'm not really in the mood to cooperate with Feng Yan, but it's like he's got GPS tracking installed. Wherever I go, he seems to know, never worrying I might run away. The system says it's just part of the playful dynamic between you two, the male and female leads. Playful my foot, I'm the mouse in the cat's mouth. How could I not panic? A year later, the system reappeared, saying I wasn't the female lead. I knew it. Praying to the gods in the West every day paid off somehow. The only downside is I'm carrying some unknown species offspring in my belly, but luckily, there's a Taoist in my family who can always handle it. As I was leaving, pulling my suitcase, I asked the system, once the male and female leads enter the plot, will Feng Yan really forget about me? Are you sure? Sure, and certain. I breathed a sigh of relief. Once I get through this ordeal, I'm going to Lingyin Temple to fulfill my vow. I'm going to contribute to the development of Western China, off to dig wells in Africa. Perfect timing. Feng Yan is in the UK for business negotiations and won't be back anytime soon. I packed some emergency supplies as quickly as possible and booked a flight to Iceland. Snakes fear the cold. Feng Yan fears it even more. I hope he knows when to quit. Just as I was cheering, this lady is free at last, Feng Yan called. Why is there a divorce agreement? Do you like someone else? Who is it? I'll go kill him. Feng Yan's trailing tone grew increasingly heavy. I used to think he had separation anxiety, whimpering when he couldn't see me. Now I realize he has prey separation anxiety. Without some snacks at hand, he gets restless. He realized he had spoken out of turn. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Her voice was heavy with sobs. I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. Let's talk this through properly. I was just puzzled. I only sent the divorce agreement to Guogua and my lawyer. How did Feng Yan find out? I'll question both of them. A moment later, Chen Lu replied, Madam, I'm sorry, but actually I'm Mr. Feng's man. He offered too much. I couldn't help but curse. I decided to cruelly reject Feng Yan, making up a random excuse on the spot. You're like a brute, with no finesse at all. I can't stand your reckless charging. Life is short, and I want to go seek more pleasure. He responded pitifully. I was very careful. I did everything gently. I even took professional lessons to learn the techniques. I thought you liked it. My face flushed red as I replied, don't want to hear it. Let's go our separate ways and part here. Wishing you find true love. Spare me. A mere mortal. Before Feng Yan could explain, I hung up the phone. Passing through the living room, the TV was inappropriately playing Animal World. I remembered the only time I saw Feng Yan's transformed form, half transformed. It was a night of the full moon. I went home temporarily to fetch some documents, and upon hearing me, Feng Yan quickly locked the bedroom door from inside. My eyes were quick enough to catch his movement of closing the door. He used his tail to hook it shut. A long black tail. It scared me out of my wits. I don't know why I'm so afraid of snakes. Since childhood, the fear snakes instill in me far exceeds any influence from human genetics. The system said that Feng Yan and the female lead would meet in the UK at this moment, and their feelings would grow stronger. I turned off the TV in the living room, patted my cheeks, and sobered up a bit. Freedom, freedom, here I come. Just as I walked into the bedroom to get my passport, I suddenly heard a noise behind me. Feng Yan, who should have been in England, unexpectedly appeared in the bedroom. Oh my God, I had no idea he had the ability to teleport. I turned around and met his gaze. I saw the unusual eye color that only appears when he's either deeply moved or furious. Can I be gentle from now on? I burst into tears and instinctively said, I've been afraid of snakes since I was a child. As soon as the words left my mouth, a small green bamboo viper emerged from his shoulder, its cunning round eyes fixed on me. Upon hearing my fear of snakes, as if it could understand, it quickly slithered down Feng Yan's shoulder and darted out of the living room. Seeing its slippery skin and alluring figure, I let out a sharp, piercing scream. Feng Yan immediately closed the door and, as usual, pulled me into his arms to comfort me. Yet he was clearly the greatest threat of all. I broke free and retreated to the window, my tone resolute. All of you, get out. The green little one poked its head out from the door crack, a few strands of cat grass dangling from its mouth, munching away. It looked like it didn't have much intelligence to begin with. Hearing the noise from the bedroom, it stared at me with its big round eyes, looking utterly innocent. My tears fell like a broken pearl necklace, cascading down. It was already scary enough. Understanding human speech makes it even more terrifying. Feng Yan flusteredly turned around to intimidate Little Green, signaling for it to leave. He still doesn't know that my fear of him is 100%. He stepped closer, intending to hug me. I climbed onto the bed and quickly ran to the other side of the room. Feng Yan thought I was angry because he let the snake in, so he explained pitifully, it slithered in on its own because we have cat grass at home. I don't know why it likes eating this. He strode over, wrapped his arms around my waist, and placed me on the bed. Then he knelt on one knee beside the bed, looking up at me. I noticed the flickering in his pupils caused by emotional turmoil. The sunlight poured in, as if a golden universe had blossomed in the center of the pupils. The snake's eyes I saw in the animal world looked exactly like this. His gaze softened with tenderness as he raised his hand to caress my face. The image of those black scales kept flashing through my mind, sending a chill down my spine. I clenched my arm and struck the back of his hand with force. Feng Yan's lips trembled imperceptibly before he forced a well-behaved smile. If you don't like it, I'll send it away right now. I suppressed my fear and shrank back onto the bed, eyes burning with intensity, words sharp and ruthless. I don't just dislike them, I absolutely loathe snakes. When I was a child, the teacher took us to watch Animal World. The snake swallowed a live mouse, its belly quivering slightly. I'm sick to my stomach, having nightmares for a whole month, and every time I recall them, I instinctively feel like vomiting. As the words fell, his movements visibly froze, her lashes fluttered lightly, her gaze resting on my ankle, an indescribable loneliness on her face. I sprained my ankle yesterday, and now it's a bit swollen. Noticing his approach, I said, "Don't touch me." "Oh, okay." He seemed a bit at a loss, then stood up after a moment. "I'll go deal with the snake." Only after he left the bedroom did I let out a sigh of relief, wanting to pull out my phone to call my uncle, who was a Taoist priest. Suddenly, I remembered that both my suitcase and phone were in the living room. A bad premonition suddenly crossed my mind. My colleague is also going abroad and agreed to pick me up at this time. That's a male colleague, from the same office as me, and we have a good relationship. Feng Yan is a jealous person. Oh no. He used to be a jealous person, now he's being protective of his food, definitely thinking someone is trying to steal his prey. Just as I was about to get out of bed to grab my phone, Feng Yan barged in with an icy, unyielding presence. I used to love him deeply. During the pursuit, I even wrote a strategy guide for him. When he's angry, he never shows it. Instead, his expression remains composed, the corners of his eyes carrying a hint of a smile, as he subtly clenches his jaw. That's actually when he's the most furious. Then, regardless of day or night, he'll punish me, frantically making love, leaving his marks and scent on me. Want to hear it? He shook his phone. I was a bit puzzled. Hear what? He smiled and turned on the speakerphone. "Professor Su, I'm on my way to your place now." It was Jiang Jibai, a professor from the same college. Feng Yan walked over quietly and sat down beside me. The voice on the other end continued, "Really divorced? That's quite sudden. I thought you and your husband were very much in love." I wanted to reply. Feng Yan tapped his own lips, his gaze lingering on mine. How infuriating that a prey like me could read the hunter so well. He meant that if I dared to speak, he would kiss me to death. I glared at him, not daring to move. Jiang Jibai went on and on with a long speech. It was nothing more than him expressing regret over my divorce, saying someone as good as me deserves better. I whispered to Feng Yan, "Is there a problem?" Just showing some concern between colleagues, he uttered a single word, "Ha." Quite impressive for a monster to be so well versed in human social culture. "She seems perfectly normal to me." I spoke up. "Thank you for your concern, Professor Jiang. I'm fine. When it comes to relationships, I never beat around the bush." Before I could finish, he suddenly interjected, "Then may I pursue you?" Feng Yan raised an eyebrow. "Me, Jiu, you are exceptionally outstanding. And I can't help but be drawn to you, but don't feel burdened. I just want you to know that there's someone in this world who secretly admires you." My face froze. Jiang Jibai let out a sigh of relief. "Before, you and your husband were very much in love." I thought I'd never have the chance to say this in this lifetime, but luckily, Feng Yan stared at me calmly, and the antique vase on the bookshelf suddenly shattered. I knew it was because of Feng Yan, but he looked innocent and explained, "It's fallen into disrepair over the years." Then he replied to Jiang Jibai over the phone, "We're still very much in love now." Hearing the sound of something breaking, Professor Jiang grew a bit worried. "Jiu, I'm coming to find you." Feng Yan showed an expression that seemed to say just as I wished, then glanced at me with a smirk. "Sure." I snatched the phone. "Professor Jiang, I'm not divorced, just had a little disagreement with my husband. Please don't bother coming to pick me up." With that, she hung up. I knew exactly what kind of temper Feng Yan had. Jiang Jibai had gotten into trouble because of him before. At the beginning of the year, Jiang Jibai and I moved offices due to work reassignments, and our seats ended up being very close to each other. I always regarded him as a senior. He was very gentlemanly and knew how to take care of women. Once, he gave me a ride home since it was on his way. When Feng Yan hugged me, I caught a whiff of men's cologne. I honestly told him the reason. Then Jiang Jibai took 2 weeks off. Later when he returned to work, I only found out after asking. He said he was bitten by a black snake and spent a week in the ICU. I didn't suspect Feng Yan at the time. He always acted so well behaved in front of me, until I caught him revealing his true form, a black tail. Plus, Jiang Jibai mentioned that he lived on the 51st floor, in the dead of winter. A black snake inexplicably climbed up to the 51st floor and very precisely bit a perfect X shape into Jiang Jibai's arm. It must have been Feng Yan's doing. He's the best at pretending to be well behaved. hearing me tell Jiang Jibai that we weren't divorced. Feng Yan relaxed his expression, came over, and held me close, sniffing for a long time. Now I understand. He was actually sniffing to see if I carried anyone else's scent, after thoroughly sniffing me over like a dog. He finally rested his chin on the crook of my neck and smiled proudly. Only my scent remains. My body stiffened as I thought to myself, his animal instincts haven't changed a bit, still so fond of marking his prey. I pushed him away and casually asked, "Aren't you in the UK? How did you come back so quickly?" His expression froze for a moment before he made up an excuse. "There was an urgent meeting back home, so I returned early. Really, I saw your IP was still in the UK this morning." He was a bit flustered, pretending to be calm. His eyes darted elsewhere, avoiding my gaze. Maybe the phone didn't respond in time. He leaned closer. "I'm not lying to you." The expression was utterly innocent, this demon of his, quite familiar with various human social customs, yet never learned to lie. When looking at me, that flustered and helpless little expression appeared, practically spelling out I'm lying on his face. I took the phone from his hand and quickened my pace out of the bedroom. Being in the same room with him is the most dangerous. He's not eating me now because he's keeping me as a blood bag. Just as I reached the door, I received a message from Guogua. "Eating too much egg yolk might also show up as pregnancy in tests. Come and get checked. If you're really going to divorce, think carefully about this child." I replied, "Okay." Feng Yan followed closely behind me, step by step. I turned around and said coldly, "It's not time to sleep yet. Don't come near me. After all, he only sleeps to suck blood. Who knows when you might get high and swallow me whole in one bite." He showed a guilty expression, then suddenly looked half confused. "I like you. That's why I..." "Stop right there." He obediently fell silent. If even human words cannot be trusted, how much less a monster that sees me as food. They are, after all, creatures of instinct. I repeatedly warned Feng Yan. I wanted peace and quiet, and told him not to disturb me. He had always indulged me before. Even now, he thinks I remain unaware of his true identity. I said I was going to Changguo's place. He didn't dare follow me. Instead, he rummaged through his study for a long time before pulling out a strangely fragrant bracelet and fastening it around my wrist. He bit his lower lip without showing any expression. "Otherwise, I'll go with you." I had no choice but to reach out my hand. Only after putting it on did I realize the chain couldn't be undone. It must be for tracking purposes. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Feng Yan followed and just stood there dumbly by the door, staring at me. He was waiting for my goodbye kiss. During those first 2 years, whenever either of us went out, we would always give a goodbye kiss. But ever since I discovered his true identity, I've always been in a hurry to leave. When he leaves, I no longer see him off at the door. At first, he would sulk, but I simply ignored it. He stopped asking, just looking at me pitifully every time. "Close the door," I said coldly. With that, I turned and went downstairs without looking at his expression. The weather was nice today. Without the chill of late autumn, I went to the hospital where Changguo worked and, after the examination, waited in her office. "What are you planning to do with this child? And why the sudden divorce with Feng Yan? You two were practically joined at the hip everywhere you went for those 2 years." She fired off 2 questions in a row. I smiled and said, "Let's find a Taoist priest to ask whether this child can be kept. Since when did you start believing in such things?" The nurse came in and handed the report to her. I sat aside, waiting. Changguo frowned as he watched. "What's wrong?" She looked up. "Go get another checkup." I was completely baffled but complied. Her brows furrowed even deeper. She even called the nurse in to ask about the equipment. "Are you feeling unwell?" she asked me. I shook my head. "It's only been a few days since the pregnancy test, and it doesn't seem any different from usual." She bit her lip, lost in thought. "Some of your body's indicators, if it were a normal person, they wouldn't survive," she added. "It's amazing. Forget the indicators for a moment. Just these 2 results, taken barely an hour apart." She held one in each hand and raised them for comparison. "One shows pregnancy, the other shows no pregnancy." She looked at me seriously. "Jiu, you're not serious, are you?" "A year ago, I told Changhua that Feng Yan wasn't human, but he disguised himself so well that I could never gather evidence to prove it. Under Changhua's worried gaze, I nodded. I'm not joking, you saw today's test results. Because of him, I've also become abnormal. She stood up, her face filled with concern. She wasn't particularly surprised. After all, the family's pillar business was news. Growing up, she had seen many strange and unusual things. What should I do? I've never dealt with non-humans before either. I gave her a reassuring look. I should be able to find someone. Before leaving, Changhua made me undergo 2 more checkups. I didn't get pregnant both times. Either I ate something I shouldn't have, or the way monsters reproduce is different. I remembered the hamster I used to have. It suddenly got sick and stopped eating. Feng Yan seemed to just take a sniff and said, "It's pregnant and has a poor appetite." Perhaps this was really a misdiagnosis. Otherwise Feng Yan should have been able to smell that I was pregnant too. Let's go. I'm going downstairs to make a call. I contacted my uncle, who travels the world. Our family has been in the paper effigy business for generations. But every few generations. Some also dabbled in the arts of alchemists, sorcerers, and Taoist priests. Originally, I went to second grandfather, but he suddenly claimed to be ill and recommended this distant uncle, Su Jingyan. After hearing my description of the situation, Su Jingyan didn't question it at all but instead sent me a picture directly. "Jiu, take a look at this section of the family records. The family records show that the blood of some members in our clan can help demons enhance their cultivation. Therefore, spirits and monsters would keep these people captive to aid in their own practice." Third uncle sent me a message. "Jiu, don't leave recklessly. He has marked you and can track you down no matter where you go. Our family ancestors once had a female member who was kept by a spirit. The family records describe it this way. The mountain spirits were strikingly beautiful and skilled at beguiling people, despite the strict family warnings. Some women still succumbed to their charms and were abducted into the mountains, where they were kept for many years. By the time the family found the woman, she had long been drained of her vitality by the demon, leaving only withered bones. Third uncle told me that these types of demons are utterly devoid of humanity. The female clansman was bitten by the monster until her body was riddled with wounds, her face unrecognizable, and even in death, she found no peace. If it weren't for the clansman's compassion, risking their lives to retrieve her body, she would have ended up with not even bones left to bury. Third uncle repeatedly warned me, "Before I return, you must not arouse the suspicion of that demon. If you have any spare effort, observe his weaknesses in secret and inform me one by one. We'll make plans after I return to the capital." I wanted to ask for more details, but he seemed to know little about Feng Yan, who is not human, and was somewhat afraid of him. When mentioning Feng Yan, he repeatedly emphasized that I should comply with him and not try to escape. But in the face of the unknown, there's nothing else to do but stay put. I guess my third uncle has his own pace. After making the call downstairs at the hospital, I drove home. The important thing now is not to arouse Feng Yan's suspicion. On the way back, I passed by Hongsheng Plaza. Outside the plaza, there was a row of giant screens. Feng Yan recently had a series of financial interviews. Every time I passed by, I could see his mesmerizing face, facing the camera. His persona is completely opposite. On screen, Feng Yan is decisive, aloof, and disdainful of the world. His languid and indifferent demeanor has earned him the nickname the ruthless blade of the business world. After completing my master's degree, I pursued a PhD, while working as a lecturer at K University. I can always get the latest and most cutting-edge business cases through Feng Yan. Although the course content is obscure, I can invite industry celebrities to analyze it for the students one by one. Feng Yan also often uses his experiences to ground the abstract concepts I learn from books. As a result, my classes are always packed. And this year they were even rated as the most valuable course in K University's School of Economics and Management. He doesn't give a man a fish but teaches him how to fish. After we started dating, he began letting me venture into the business world. He provides the resources, and I decide how much of the profits to share with him. I refused. This seems a bit like reaping without sowing. He is very rational and gave me guidance. I will be your husband. There's nothing wrong with investing in my wife. Even if that's not the case, I see potential in your abilities. You can consider me as an angel investor. I'm paying for your talent. I told him I aspire to be an independent woman. He chuckled. Do you often hear the term independent man? I shook my head. He said, those with privilege rarely realize they possess it. Take men, for example, those who accept houses and cars from their parents, resources from their peers, or promotions from their superiors. Why does no one call them dependent? Look around society. Such men are everywhere. The same goes for women. There's nothing wrong with enjoying these privileges. If it's not a problem when he does it, then it shouldn't be a problem when she does it. Jiu. I am acutely aware of the power this society has granted me, but those who hold power never realize they possess it. I tend to think that men, realizing traditional constraints no longer bind you, fear you entering the battlefield to compete with them on equal footing. So, they create these new shackles, rallying the slogan of independent women to make you withdraw from the competition for resources, relying on your innate humility and sense of justice. So there's nothing to feel guilty about. Only a fool wouldn't use available resources. It was an epiphany for me. This includes my parents. Due to my mother's health condition, I'm their only child. They believe only a son can perform their funeral rites. So after high school they stopped supporting me, planning to leave all their property to my nephew. After marrying Feng Yan, they naturally treated him as their own son. It was Feng Yan who showed them through his actions that because I am outstanding, he could be considered half their son. No need to flatter me. Without Jiu, we wouldn't have the slightest connection. I will only coexist peacefully with those who cherish my wife. If you can't learn to treat her as a treasure, I have no time to teach you, let alone deal with you. These principles of conduct were actually taught to me by a demon. Indeed, without the oppressive structures of human society clouding one's mind, clarity comes more easily. While waiting at the traffic light, Su Jingyan sent a few portraits. This incident caused quite a stir at the time, so there were pictorial records. I zoomed in on the images. The woman in the painting looked emaciated, her body covered in sores. They placed her on the altar, limp as a rag. At her neck and wrists were blood holes like mine, only much more pronounced. Beep beep. The car behind urged me to move forward. I stepped on the accelerator, tears streaming down my face. Because in another picture, the woman's hair was brushed aside. It was my face, Su Jingyan added. Back then, that monster seemed to be a black snake. For some unknown reason, it went out of control and bit this woman to death. Xiaoyu. In the family photo, you're standing at the bottom left corner, right? I replied to him, you're not mistaken. I do look very much like the person in this painting. His side showed typing. After a long while, a message came through. Back then, the entire clan led the alchemists to capture him. After he drank this woman's blood, he seemed even stronger, broke through the encirclement, and vanished into the mountains and forests. Perhaps, the reincarnated one carries the same abilities. Xiaoyu, be extra careful. I'm on my way back now. I turned the corner and returned to the villa. Under the corridor light, Feng Yan stood tall and graceful, his arm draped with a coat, waiting for me. As I approached, he broke into a smile. I thought you weren't coming back. He draped the coat over my shoulders. I walk inside. I can't run far anyway. He hesitates for a moment, then follows. Neither of us speaks. As usual, on this day, he brought me a cup of hot milk laced with medicine. Pretending not to know, I drank it all in one gulp. At most half a month, if he doesn't drink blood, he'll revert to his true form like last time. The warm yellow light flickered, swaying my hesitant heart. Feng Yan carried me onto the soft bed. Then he slowly moved downward, making me bend my legs, desire and pain intertwined. I suspect that even if I were to die by his hand in the end, it would still be this kind of conscious descent. I couldn't help but let out a soft moan. Feng Yan raised his head and asked cautiously, baby, did I hurt you? I shook my head. He leaned in closer and kissed my fingers reverently. A tingling sensation ran down my spine. I'll be very, very gentle. If I use too much force, will you call out my name? I looked into his eyes and let out a sigh so faint it was almost inaudible. All right. The image of the male mantis being eaten always pops into my mind. For a moment, I considered following his example, because Feng Yan is a predator. Yet he gave me love. I love him, perhaps enough to sacrifice, but as a partner, he also showed me a much broader world. Love is important, but being Sujiu as a person is even more important. Love is not enough to make me give up such a young life. Sleepless all night, I could even clearly feel Feng Yan's fangs piercing through my fragile skin. Then came that delirious rambling after satiation. You smell so sweet and fragrant all over, baby. I want to take a bite out of you. I really want to devour you. Hearing those words instantly snapped me awake, staring at the ceiling with my hair standing on end. His demeanor each time truly made me feel like he wanted to devour me whole. I was half awake until dawn. And the next day I went to work with dark circles under my eyes. Feng Yan, for some reason, felt a sense of crisis and wanted to follow me to work. Your school invited me to give a lecture. I haven't set a date yet, but it could be today. I rolled my eyes at him. It doesn't matter what time you go, but the students need time to prepare. No way. He gritted his teeth and sat back on the sofa. I didn't expect Feng Yan to follow me. In the heat of my lecture, I looked up and saw him sitting in the corner of the fourth row, trying so hard to be inconspicuous, as if wearing a hoodie would make me not recognize him. I'm in this class with Jiang Jibai. Although I told him I'm not divorced, he seems a bit arrogant. Convinced that my marriage is failing and that he has a chance, throughout the class, he keeps subtly flirting with me. The students know I wear a wedding ring, but I haven't publicly mentioned Feng Yan, afraid it might affect how others judge my professional competence. So the students assume Professor Jiang and I have a special relationship. The intermittent sighs gave me a headache. Feng Yan's face darkened, wearing an expression that said I knew something was wrong. And he stared at me intently. After class, I walked back with him. He went to the back seat and ignored me. Feng Yan, he seemed to have fallen asleep and didn't move. I had no choice but to take his phone and search for the courier station where Su Jing'an sent me the package. As soon as I opened the browser, what's it like to be the mistress when you're the legal wife? Is being a mistress morally acceptable in human society? If I'm not human and have no morals, can I be a mistress without ethical concerns? Can you be a mistress if you're not loved? What should I do if my wife hasn't kissed me on her own for a year? What should I do if I feel unloved and want to die? Where is the loneliest place in the world? Immersive translate. I silently and gently put the phone back for him, pretending nothing had happened. As soon as he got home, Feng Yan pretended to be aloof, diving straight into his study to feign being busy with work. Whenever he felt wronged, he would pretend to be busy with work. Sometimes, I really couldn't connect this master of playing the victim with the predator he was. But the thought of his scales, his tail as thick as a tree trunk, and his sharp teeth instantly extinguished any warmth. For a whole week after that, every night when I got home from work, I would cram on snake behavior. The TV was playing some saccharine industrial drama when Feng Yan suddenly appeared behind me. Seeing that I ignored him, he came over and sat down on the sofa beside me. I had just finished reading a short folkloric novel and quietly scooted over a bit. He was wearing a casual t-shirt when he suddenly grabbed my hand and pressed it against his abs, burning hot. I quickly pulled my hand back, he said. As mentioned in your social media post, you want to lie on abs while reciting marks in the evening when you get home. I withered. It was because I lost a bet with colleagues during the day, and they made me post that. You're not preparing for grad school. No need to recite marks. The thoughts of great minds must be studied continuously. He bit his lip, his gaze turning cold. I get it. You just don't want to use my abs, he said sternly to the air. Which man? I quickly lay down. Carry me, I'll carry you. After all these years, all I remember is mechanical materialism, also known as metaphysical materialism, metaphysics. I thought about it, metaphysics. If you can't handle it, drop out. Feng Yan didn't pay attention to my nonsense. He played with my hand, sometimes comparing his big hand to my small one, other times matching his arm against mine. As we compared, our hands formed a figure-8 shape, framing my face. A chill ran down my spine instantly. Just finished reading a novel about measuring snakes. Before eating, they first gauge the size of their prey to see if it can be swallowed whole. Baby, you're so soft. He took my hand and gave it a gentle bite. I shuddered. Are you hungry? He paused for a moment. A little, but not very. I'll go make you some noodles. I'm not much of a cook. I only know how to make noodles. It's not like I'm the one eating anyway. If I don't stuff him full today, my name isn't Sushiyu. A bowl of beef noodles. He ate with great relish. Between bites, he looked up. It's been so long since you last cooked for me, baby. Then eat more. When I brought the fourth bowl, he hesitated. I'm a bit full now. My stomach feels uncomfortable. Are you sure you're full, You go ahead and sleep. He frowned, pressing a hand against his stomach. I was about to leave, but couldn't bring myself to do it. I'll help massage it for you. Her hand moved in circles on his abdomen. Feng Yan let out a muffled groan. His face growing increasingly flushed. I didn't see anything. I could only picture a scene straight out of hell. An enormous black snake swallowing me whole, then getting stuck in its stomach, taking half a year to digest me. Absolutely unacceptable. He was much taller than me. As I sat there, his shadow loomed over me. When he bit my earlobe, a chill ran through my entire body. I tried to awaken his conscience. Feng Yan, don't move again, or you'll have to go eat noodles. He got scared, raised his head, and sat up straight. Third uncle sent me a package of medicine. He told me not to act rashly, to wait until he gathered people and rushed to my house before making a move against Feng Yan. This medicine can keep him unconscious for several days. Actually, these past few days, I've roughly guessed that Su Jingyan wants to eliminate Feng Yan completely, but I have no such intention. I called him, third uncle, just remove his tracking on me. I didn't intend to kill him. He was stunned for a moment. All right, as you say, his face in the lens always gives me a feeling that's both youthful and aged, indescribable. He told me to point the camera at Feng Yan. Feng Yan was washing dishes in the kitchen, humming a song softly. Aim at his back. I did as told. Su Jingyan picked up a bronze mirror over there and aimed it at the camera. There's something behind him. I zoomed in to look, and a chill ran down my spine. Countless ghosts floated behind Feng Yan. Flesh and blood blurred, faces unrecognizable, many with intestines spilling out, limbs missing. The horrific scene was unbearable to behold. He hummed sweet tunes, yet carried on his back the souls of countless who had met gruesome deaths, Su Jingyan said. This is also recorded in history. He committed every evil imaginable, slaughtering countless living beings, for so many years without fail. It was because he could perfectly disguise himself as human. Wait 2 more days. I'll gather our forces, and we'll deal with him together. I looked at Su Jingyan in the camera and said calmly, okay. I didn't have time to wait for Su Jingyan to arrive. On Feng Yan's birthday, he was acting very strange. I don't know if it was because of the protective talisman Su Jingyan sent me. It's been 3 days since I hung it around my neck, and Feng Yan has been unusually restless. He probably hasn't noticed that his pupils have taken on animalistic traits. Whenever I'm out of his sight, he follows me. Where are you going? Me? I'll get some fresh ingredients to cook you a birthday meal. He nodded slowly, seizing the opportunity. I slipped through the flower trellis and headed for the back door. He noticed and came straight over, picking me up to carry me back, running around, not being good. As soon as we entered, he couldn't wait and pinned me to the floor. His fangs were thicker than usual, piercing into my veins painfully. After what felt like forever, he suddenly collapsed on top of me and fell asleep. I dragged him onto the sofa. When he woke up, he didn't remember what he had just done. He reached out, pulled me over, and placed me on his lap. Feng Yan nuzzled against me. Where's my birthday gift? Because he was too close, he smelled the uncoagulated blood from the wound on my neck again. His eyes were dazed, and he opened his mouth once more. Probably even he himself didn't know what he was doing. I picked up the wine glass from the coffee table. Have a drink first. The gift will be here soon. He gladly accepted. This was the annual birthday tradition. drinking until they tumbled together in a heap. This year was different. I had slipped the drug Su Jing'an gave me into the wine, just 1/10, and a few hours of drowsiness will do. The system said my presence was hindering the romantic progress between the male and female leads, and it could send me to another world, returning after some time. I haven't figured out a solution yet, so I can only make a deal with it and hide out for now. Feng Yan tilted his head back and drank it all in one go, then rested his chin on my shoulder. Sighing repeatedly, I asked him, "What's wrong?" His shoulders suddenly relaxed as Feng Yan straightened up, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Shouldn't you be the one telling me what's wrong, baby? I think something's off with me." The medication was taking effect, but unlike what Su Jing'an said, it wasn't a drug to make someone unconscious, it was a drug to make him lose control. Without any buffer, his fangs bit down again, truly painful enough to make one cry out, "Feng Yan." He had completely lost control of himself. Calling out to him proved futile. The phone vibrated on the sofa. I reached for it, only to have Feng Yan knock it away. Above us, the dazzling trident chandelier swayed violently from his instability. From that perspective, Feng Yan lost all reason. Pressing me beneath him as he conquered and plundered, he reverted to his animal instincts. Facing me is merely facing prey, just as that woman said, first suck the blood, then swallow in one gulp. In my dazed state, I seemed to remember why I was so afraid of snakes. What I feared was Feng Yan. During the Kaiyuan era, I died by his hand. At the moment of death, he was still biting my neck. My entire body was riddled with bloody holes. The pain penetrated to the marrow. That's how I used to call him back then. Yan let me go, then lost my soul, and died. This time, I still couldn't push him away. Feng Yan, Feng Yan. I tried to rouse his reason. He remained motionless. Greedily nuzzling against my neck, I lost my strength. Left to await death, there was suddenly a rapid knocking at the door. "Yu." The voice sounded so familiar, it was Su Jing'an. Hearing the outside noise, Feng Yan seemed to snap out of his daze. He gave me a meaningful glance, then scooped me up by the waist and stepped barefoot into the basement. Below was a secret room he had built for me. He said if he wasn't home and intruders broke in, I could hide there. He locked me inside the secret room. In my panic, I grabbed at his upper body and suddenly touched something cold and soft. Because he had placed me on the bed, as I fell, I tugged at the buttons of his shirt, exposing his chest. A larger expanse of snake scales rushed into my view. A flicker of panic flashed in his eyes as he turned his back to me. I don't know what triggered me, but I suddenly couldn't suppress the urge to retch. Feng Yan regained his composure and snorted coldly. "Do you hate me that much?" He leaned down and fiercely bit a mark into my shoulder, as if with a hint of vengeance. "You knew all along that I wasn't human, didn't you?" I nodded weakly. The next second, nausea surged again. He suddenly burst into laughter and pressed the remote. The red lights around us lit up, signaling the start of an alert. "What is this?" he replied. "If you want me dead so badly, then let's die together. This secret room can protect people, but it can also kill." After 1 hour, he pointed to a silver box embedded in the wall. "The bomb will explode, and we'll meet again in hell." I struggled to grab the hem of his clothes, but he dodged me. "Feng Yan, we have a baby." He gave me a cold glance, stepped back, and snapped the key in half. The door slammed shut, and all I caught was his desolate figure. There was absolutely no signal inside. I staggered across the floor, looking around. It's practically airtight. The door is specially made, incredibly heavy. What's worse, the moment he left, the silver box on the wall started counting down. I never expected him to go this far. This is really the end. I don't know how long it took, but I heard faint tremors coming from the ground. It must have been a massive explosion to be felt from this far away. A while later, Chenghua found his way down to the basement. "Sujiyu." I pressed against the door and shouted, "I'm inside. Where's the key?" "Guagua, you go first." The key was broken by Feng Yan. "And there's a bomb inside." "Bomb?" Her voice trembled. Thudding sounds came from outside. Chenghua was pounding on the door. I asked, "Where's Feng Yan?" "He escaped, just as I detonated your backyard." He had finished killing Su Jing'an and the others. threw the bodies into the fire, and ran. Oh my God, you have no idea how terrifying his tail was. It was as tall as a two-story building. With one swipe, he flung over a dozen people into the fire. I chuckled. You're being too dramatic. She calmed down and asked, how much time is left? I'll go find someone. 5 minutes. I could imagine Changwa outside, clutching her head while the sugar-free whole wheat bread screamed. Damn it, I'm not a locksmith, and I can't defuse bombs either. I comforted her. Feng Yan always does things thoroughly. Even if you found an expert, they wouldn't be able to open it. You'd better go upstairs quickly. Outside, she let out a sharp, wailing cry. I said, my cats, dogs, parrots, and little fish need you to take care of them. My charity work needs you to take over. And besides, humans are the juvenile form of ghosts. I'm now counting down to adulthood. Congratulate me on my coming of ghost ceremony. I'm speechless at you. 3 minutes left, she wailed as if running out of breath. I can't bear to lose you. My nickname. We'll meet in the underworld sooner or later anyway. Why all the drama? If I go down now, I'll be a broke ghost. So you better earn more money to burn for me. Otherwise, when you die, we'll both end up sleeping on the underworld streets together. She was crying her eyes out. You're right. You left in such a hurry without bringing anything. I'll take care of things for you here then. Thanks, you're such a good friend. 2 minutes. She took off running. As she ran, she shouted, Sujiyu, don't you dare forget me, even as a ghost. Only after she left did I feel a pang of sorrow. Damn it, Feng Yan. To think I once loved you. How cruel you are to go this far. Better to bite me to death in one go. Make it quick. The beeping countdown tightened my heart. This must be what death by 1,000 cuts feels like. Loved, but no hate, after all. If the system hadn't come for me back then and I hadn't met Feng Yan, I'd already be married to a wealthy, bedridden, pressure-sore-covered bald man. So, even if I suspected it was a pig butchering scam, at least Feng Yan genuinely offered his looks. He was truly capable, and I could die without regrets. Beep, beep, beep. The expected burning sensation never came. Instead, the door clicked open, a rose popped out. A silver box contained an English song he had recorded himself. Puzzled, I walked over and found more roses inside, with handwriting on the card that belonged to Feng Yan. The first line read, I could never bear to let you die. The second line, don't worry, if mom and dad don't love each other, the baby won't come. It'll leave on its own after a while. No wonder the pregnancy status is unstable, sometimes detectable, sometimes not. Perhaps my emotional fluctuations have been too severe during this period. Sorry baby, I was too selfish. I know you hate snakes, but I didn't want you to leave, so I kept it from you. CIU. I won't bother you anymore in the future. I really can't stand sentimental stuff, ugh. As an adult, when my parents consulted a specialist and uttered the words love me, something they never said, I felt a chill run down my spine, covered in goosebumps. I hate saying I love you out loud, but Feng Yan taught me through actions that love needs to be expressed. Digging deeper into the box, I found a necklace inside, the priceless angel's heart, 2 large boxes of letters, addressed to Sujiyu, to be opened personally. I randomly opened one titled 200th birthday letter. I was curious to see who he was celebrating a 200th birthday for. The opening hit like a bombshell. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry, you're 200 years old now and still can't die. I confess, I was truly wrong. On the first day we fell in love, I bound our fates together. I really didn't know how long you'd live. If immortality feels too dull, just do as you said, go seek pleasure. To be honest, I'm really sad, just as sad as when we slept together and every night I watched you swipe through handsome guys. But you said, life is short. Why not flirt with more men? So go ahead, let go. I'm not just sad, I'm utterly heartbroken. Remember, they're just hotels. I'm your home. My downfall was that you hate snakes. And I am one, born as a snake. I am sorry. I will always watch over the people you love, forever. I am just dark, jealous, and crazy. A few dried tear stains remained on the letter paper, but I was too foolish and hurt you. I only hope you can be happy. I don't want to complain anymore. Lest you think I'm pitiful QAQ a fool, it wasn't his fault. Why take—
So I put on a mask and quietly watched him from across the pork stall as he messaged me, "Xiao Yu, I'm also very worried about you, but that demon is too powerful. I'm still trying to figure out a way to deal with it. Remember, if he loses control, don't run away, otherwise you'll anger him and the consequences would be unimaginable. No wonder you prepared the sachet, the protective charm, the incense burner, and the medicinal powder for me. So you were planning to recreate the last time, let Feng Yan lose control and kill me, then save me after he regains consciousness, and steal my corpse again. So perverted. At that time, I only knew he was untrustworthy, but I didn't remember my past with Feng Yan. But anyway, Su Jingyan wasn't a good person, and Feng Yan would lose control and kill them. I had Chang Guo arrange for someone to create an explosion in my backyard, a natural fire scene. Feng Yan had an extreme fondness for using fire to destroy evidence. He used to secretly burn love letters other men wrote to me. He would definitely instinctively throw the body into the flames. Afterward, I'd just have Chang Guo's family newspaper control the public narrative. I left the basement and saw Chang Guo and that white snake both there. Chang Guo almost hugged me to the point of suffocation. Xiaobai walked over, her long curly hair, fiery red lips, and graceful figure catching the eye. Could it be that just as I was moved, I'd have to face a love rival? She smiled and stepped forward. "Oh dear, sister-in-law is here. Where's little Yen?" I said. "He's dead." Her delicate hands wandered across my chest. I remembered that night, her movements with Feng Yan. Chang Guo stood beside me and said, "She just touched my chest too, and even pinched it." The woman chuckled awkwardly. "Sorry. I learned this from TV when I was shapeshifting. The snake spirits in there all act like this. I just came to ask, where is my son?" I was completely baffled. "Your son? It's just a silly little green snake. He insisted on coming to your place to play. So I mailed him over, so he came to eat cat grass." She pinched my chest again. "My son probably wouldn't dare to run too far. He's just being disobedient. I feel like your place isn't very peaceful right now. I need to get back to work first." She turned around, and a photo fell out of the document folder. I crouched down. "Jiang Jibai." She raised an eyebrow. "You should know him, a notorious reformed criminal in the demon world, quite the pervert." She took back the photo. "I'm responsible for catching him and bringing him back. This bird keeps using incense to knock out human women and taking them back to his nest as wives." Feng Yan was full of righteous indignation before and even helped me beat him up once. She was about to leave. I called out to her, "Do you know where Feng Yan might have gone?" The woman gave a gossipy expression. "I knew there was something between you two. Go check out Cheong Mountain. He's got a hideout there." "Thank you." Chang Guo accompanied me on the half-day hike, cursing Feng Yan 800 times along the way. What a lunatic, running off so far. "Does he think we're all 8-meter-long pythons, so you don't hate snakes anymore?" I said. "Take it slow and overcome it step by step." Feng Yan had spent too many days in solitude. Later, he learned some kind of binding spell from a demon, tying his fate to mine. If I die, he won't live either. He thought this was a good thing. When I died back then, he also sought death either because the mountain wasn't high enough or the sea wasn't deep enough. After forming the bond, the entire snake became more cheerful, because he relies on sucking my blood to maintain his human form, otherwise he would gradually fade away. This guy's logic is, if I love him, I wouldn't bear to let him die, and would surely allow him to drink my blood. If you don't love, I might as well die. I don't think this is enlightenment, this is over-enlightenment, a harmful mindset. Don't learn it. I didn't prepare myself enough mentally when Chang Guo and I entered the thatched hut. Feng Yan was covered in blood, clutching a handful of colorful feathers in his hand. There was a chicken by his tail. As soon as I approached, the chicken flapped its wings and fluttered up. "Teacher Su, save me." The voice sounded so familiar. "Jiang Jibai." He nodded frantically. I turned my gaze toward Feng Yan, who instinctively grabbed some grass to cover his lower body, his face showing distress. "Don't look." He turned his head away. Several black scales were scattered on the ground. I look at this featherless bird, then at Feng Yan with his scales plucked, and my rage boils over. I grab Jiang Jibai and start pounding on him. "You dare pluck my husband's scales, I'll beat you to death. How dare you touch someone under your grandma's protection?" Chang Guo joins the fight. No one was listening to his excuses at all. Tired from fighting, calling a truce, Jiang Jibai's wails pierced through the mountain forest. My heavens above, he plucked his own scales. saying you're afraid of snakes and like birds, so he wanted to transform himself. He plucked all my feathers. Look at this mess, a snake wanting to use Phoenix feathers. Does this make any sense? Does this? He cried with great grievance. He tore off all his scales at the slightest disagreement. I called him a love-struck fool, and he even hit me. Utterly ridiculous, an absolute disgrace. I can't go on living. He was about to ram into the wall. No one stopped him. Jiang Jibai sulked and retreated to a corner. Feng Yan also hid inside the inner room. I went in and scolded him. Come here. He obediently swam over and reached out to cover my eyes. Don't look, it's ugly. I raised my wrist to his lips. Drink, or you won't make it home like this. I scolded him. Feng Yan, can't you be a bit tougher? You come here to wait for death at the slightest disagreement. All these years you've lived in vain. He looked pitifully aggrieved. Noticing many handkerchiefs hanging on the windowsill, I casually grabbed one to wipe the bloodstains off him. Why is it wet? He was somewhat embarrassed. Jiang Jibai poked his head in and mocked. He cried, used over a dozen handkerchiefs, and just left them there to dry after. How pathetic. Feng Yan slowly began to feel murderous. I turned his head towards me, and our eyes met. Let's go home, okay? I don't dislike you. Humans are naturally afraid of snakes, and you didn't say anything. So I thought you wanted to eat me. Feng Yan, I never intended to hurt you. You've taught me so much, I couldn't bear to. He gave a proud humph in response. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. Before me, it was as if a green persimmon had ripened in an instant. The system suddenly appeared, carrying a small bundle to bid me farewell. Aren't you going to protect the love between the male and female leads anymore? It replied. Feng Yan gave me a lot of money, and I'm a system that knows which way the wind blows. I'm off to order 8 male model systems first. Bye-bye, goodbye. We carried the chicken down the mountain. A pregnant woman and her husband went to the temple on the mountaintop to pray for blessings, and Feng Yan kept looking back for a long time. I asked him what was wrong. He said, that family will be very happy. Xuanqi, you go. I seemed to see a spectral figure hovering behind him. The man named Xuanqi, dressed in a red army uniform, took off his hat and salute and walked toward the pregnant woman from earlier. Fortunately, we were halfway up the mountain, so we quickly helped carry the pregnant woman to the hospital. I breathed a sigh of relief. I had thought those were the tormented souls of his victims. He smiled. I learned it all from you. When I went to pay respects at the memorial, I realized I could see them, like you. I also wish they could return to this prosperous era and experience the beautiful nation they fought so hard to create. Xiaoyu, I was raised by you, so I'm your mirror image. There are many things you don't remember, but I do. I may be a monster, but I understand love better than many humans. You loved me wholeheartedly and taught me, so now I'm teaching you in return. Love is a cycle, it never disappears, just like a Mobius strip, endlessly deep, endlessly looping. We will surely meet again. He would remember the poems I read to him, Auden's poems. I love you to the point where rivers leap up mountains, salmon come singing in the streets. I love you, till the ocean is penned behind fences, hung upside down to dry, till the 7 stars scream hoarsely, as if geese and ducks appeared in the sky. The moon hides in the clouds. Feng Yan clings to me madly. I want to take back what's rightfully mine.